I always say good morning. I take a lot of naps, it's fine. It's now 6:30, we'll call this meeting to order. As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded and we're live. And we got the city of Sioux Falls there on Zoom, so they're all watching and listening, and they'll be commenting when it's appropriate. For each meeting, for a public hearing, we'll have the staff introduce an agenda item and present their summary report. The applicant will then be asked to talk about their proposal in further detail and answer questions from the planning commission meeting members. I will open the floor to public comment. First person in support of the application, the next people in opposition of the application. Please step up to the podium and state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. I know we have masks on, but try real hard to talk directly into it because we're being recorded and we have people on the computer trying to listen to everything we're saying. Each speaker will have a chance to speak once and to keep their comments probably to less than 5 minutes. Speakers are encouraged to only address the new and relevant information pertaining to the item. We appreciate that you might be trying to reiterate a point, but we've heard the point and we do want to keep moving with the meeting. Above all, please be cordial to all meeting participants and refrain from side conversations, speaking out in turn, or you will be asked to leave. Lastly, decision of the conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the county and planning zoning within five business days. So thank you very much. Call to order and roll call.
Commissioner Albers?
Yes.
Commissioner Enstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Pashby? Commissioner Poppins?
Here.
Commissioner Jongling?
Here. City of Sioux Falls.
Hi, good evening, City of Sioux Falls Commissioners. We'll do a roll call as well on our side. Commissioner Lukey. Here. Commissioner Nisus. Here. Commissioner Norman.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
We have a quorum on the city side.
Thank you very much. We'll go for the approval minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review and look at the meeting minutes from last time? Are there any changes to be made or suggestions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, we roll call, please.
Commissioner Albers?
Aye.
Commissioner Enstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Poppins?
Aye.
Commissioner Jongling?
Aye. City of Sioux Falls.
Commissioners, the minutes have been approved on the county side. Do I have a motion on the city side?
Lukey, I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, Commissioners, on the minutes? Hearing none, we will also do a roll call vote. Commissioner Lukey.
Yes.
Commissioner Nisus.
Yes.
Commissioner Norman.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yes.
The minutes have been approved on the city side.
Thank you. This time, we'd like to have some public input and non-agenda items. So is there anything you guys like to talk about that's not on the agenda tonight? Please come up and speak.
Commissioner, first we need to approve the agenda.
Need
What
to
was that?
approve the
Need to
agenda.
approve the agenda.
Oh, I missed that one. All right. Agenda tonight. You guys all received copies and reviewed, I assume. Do you have any discussion or motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? No? All right, Joan, we call roll, please?
Commissioner Albers,
Aye.
Commissioner Ensted,
Aye.
Commissioner Poppins,
Aye.
Commissioner Jungling.
Aye.
Motion
City Sioux Falls?
Commissioners, the agenda has been approved on the county side. Do I have a motion and a second on the city side?
Move to approve the agenda, Johnson.
Lukey, second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion, commissioners? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Lukey,
Yes.
Commissioner Nisus,
Yes.
Commissioner Norman,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yes.
The agenda has been approved on the city side.
Thank you. And now, I already said all the words, but yeah, public input. Anybody have anything they'd like to speak on, not on agenda? Seeing none.
You guys speak up. We can't hear you.
Okay, we see no one wants to speak on the public input, so we'll move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Toby. We'll move on to consideration of new business. Toby, you want to talk about the first one, please?
Sure. Good evening. Toby Brown, representing County Planning. This first item is located at the northeast quadrant of Interstate 29, the T exit, just off of Tallgrass Avenue. The subject property is approximately 1.22 acres in size. As you can see, the property is zoned I-1 light industrial. Property adjacent to the south, the west, is like zoning. The property across, there's a driveway that separates it from the north property, which is zoned A1 agricultural and is utilized as a single-family dwelling. Subject property was constructed 16,100 square foot building for a contractor shop, which was approved by this joint board. The applicant is requesting one of the suites. It's a 5-suite building, suite number 4 to be utilized for car sales. And so the applicant did submit a concept plan which shows that there is no really modifications to the interior, exterior of the building. This property, again, is utilized for contractor shops. This unit would be utilized for car sales. As you can see in the staff analysis, that staff does feel that it does meet the minimum requirements for the application. Staff does recommend approval subject to the conditions that were in the staff report. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
I have no questions.
Okay, county has no questions. City Sioux Falls?
Commissioners, any questions? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Johnston.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I did not have a question.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. I misheard. Any questions on the city side? No questions tonight on the city side of this one.
Thank you. If the applicant's in here or on Zoom, please step to the podium, say your name, address, and give a description of what you're looking to do with it, please.
Good evening. My name is Manel Risk, and my address is 3505, my home address, correct?
Correct.
3505 West Ralph Rogers Road, Apartment 7 in Sioux Falls, 57108. And the nature of this business will be an auto sales and repair shop, and we will be purchasing the automobiles from the local auctions and reselling them back to the auction, and all the work performed will be performed inside. We will not be open to the public. There will not be any cars displayed outside or any work done outside. It will all be just with the auction and us. That's pretty much the nature of the business. It's just purchasing from the auction and reselling back to the auction.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Does county have any questions for the applicant?
No, Mr. Chair.
I have no questions.
No.
Okay, City of Sioux Falls, do you have any questions for the applicant?
City Commissioners, any questions?
Chairman, Lukey, I've got, just want to make sure the applicant's okay with the 2 findings and the 7 conditions that county and city staff.
No, the city is asking if you're okay with the conditions and the stuff that's been laid out in this report.
Is it what's on, I didn't get anything. Is it the one on the screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions from the city of Sioux Falls?
I would just ask one question. Is there any painting that will be going on in here? Painting of the automobiles after they're repaired?
No, there will not be any body work done whatsoever. It's just automobile repair.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Any further questions, City Council or Commissioners? No further questions on the city side.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I would invite anybody to the podium and that want to speak in favor of the applicant. Seeing none, is there anybody who'd like to speak against or opposition of the applicant? Please come up, please.
It's Henry Mueller, and I live at 27053 South Tallgrass, which is just adjacent to the property. I just mainly have a question. If this is passed with this condition, will the conditional use stay with the building if the occupant leaves? Or will it disappear?
It will stay with the building.
And would that be only for the internet sales or for any automotive sales?
You know, I don't know the answer. Toby, can you help with that one, please?
The permit would stay with the Suite 104 as conditioned and approved by the by the joint board. So it would have to meet those conditions that are recommended.
Because currently, right now, they may have 1 parking spot available at that location. The 2 other occupants on the other ends of the building, they're taking over part of the one neighbor's property even for parking.
Okay.
So if anybody does move in, there's no place to display cars, employee cars even, because they're parking in the lot and on the curbside, and then on the other side of the property, but.
And, I may be, if I'm right, but I believe they're not going to be displaying cars. They'll just be inside, working on, and then they'll leave and go to the auction.
Correct. If that's the way the next one would be too, though, is what I was wondering, they'd follow those same stipulations.
According to the conditional use permit, they would have to, yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I'm Margaret Mueller. I'm Henry's wife at 27053 South Tallgrass. We're just north of that property. I'm all about business. I own a business myself in the area. The only thing that I have a problem with is, are these cars going to be driving into this property, or are they going to have to be unloaded? Because there is no unloading at this site at all.
Yes, we're going to be able to drive them, and if we did need to unload them, we're not going to buy them if they're not running. If we did, it would be a small trailer that we would pull all the way into.
You have her come to the mic. We can't hear what she's saying.
Yep, excuse me, I'll ask her that question. Thank you.
Do you have any other?
Yes, we will try to buy them running, And if they're not running, which we're not going to look for cars that are not running, then if we have a trailer, it would be very small, just enough to put one on, pull it into the shop, and then take it back out. I mean, like the trailer would be parked inside. We wouldn't park the trailer outside.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
I run a business. I have a lot of trailers. You cannot physically put a car on a trailer that's not running in my driveway. Period. The owners of the building put up like a concrete thing there, which is kind of like a buffer between we share a driveway. And the driveway is partly our entrance to our house. So if you look at it, you can see the driveway. We share that right there. And if you look really close at the side of my driveway, there's a vehicle parked right there. Where the blue line is there's like a huge concrete thing that separates their building and our driveway. So there is no way that you are going to be able to go through all these people, look at all the cars there, pull in any kind of trailer and unload a car that's not working. You're not going to be able to back a trailer. We've been through this with the county on the other tenants just backing trailers into their building. It's almost impossible. They're going into our grass. We have divots in our grass. I love our neighbors, and I'm all about good, hardworking people. I have nothing against anyone. I'm a business owner myself, but this does not make sense in this actual location. Now, if they were at the end of one of these things, especially by tall grass, there would be no problem with unloading a car. And you're going to have cars. I'm sorry, if you are in the car business, you're going to have cars that stuff happens from the auction. I bought equipment for 40 years. It happens. And you're not going to be unloading it in my front yard. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, I'll close the floor to public comment. Thank you. I would ask a motion from the county.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Gary, can you hear me?
Yes, Gary. Yeah, we can hear you, Gary.
Okay, you're not going to be able to see my face, but I was having trouble getting on for the first part of that. But I am here.
Thank you very much. Glad to hear your voice. All right, is there a motion from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, actually, I have a question for staff.
I would move to approve Mashpee just to get it on the floor.
I'll second that for discussion.
All right, we got a motion and a second.
Toby, I have a question for Toby, if I may.
Yes.
Toby, could you share with us, is there any clarification of the access point for this property and the shared driveway? When that got approved, is there any documentation of why that is a shared driveway there?
I'd defer probably to Henry and Margaret, but not that I've seen, I guess. I have talked to Henry within the last week, and I think there might be some compliance issues that staff will work with with the property owner there, as far as this addressing some of the issues they have. But as conditioned, as discussed with this application, I think a lot of the concerns they have should be addressed with that. If there's additional conditions that you would like to add, you could certainly do that as well.
Okay, thank you. With that, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve with the 2 findings. As staff has present, or it is already moved, sorry.
Yep.
Mr. Pasby? I just
Yes.
need to clarify that his had the 2 findings on it.
Gary, when you make your motion to approve, was it with the 2 conditions?
7.
2 findings and the 7 conditions, is it?
Thank you.
Yes. And my second includes that as well.
Thank you.
I guess I just, that is awful tight quarters up there to get in and out of there. And it's only a little over a mile from my place. I know there's been some issues. I've seen snow piled up there. I think it's probably been shoved off of that concrete, probably onto the Mueller's place. There's probably been snow pushed up there. It's awful tight quarters. If they're coming in with just a pickup and a trailer, I would guess they could probably get that in that shed. A pickup and just a pull type trailer, I think they could, a 16-foot trailer they could. They could come in and back in there. There's a bear,
Excuse me?
If they're gonna talk,
Excuse
they
me?
gotta come.
but it's awful tight up there. I know it is. There's always, as you can see, them vehicles parked up front there. That number 4 would be the second one over. And there is places in the back to park stuff, but there's no way you can get to the back unless you go through the building. And I don't know how many vehicles they're planning on having in the building when they're working on them and that, but there's basically no room outside to park anything other than 1 or 2 vehicles, or maybe 3 because there's always stuff parked up there. So it's a tight quarter, it's a tight situation. And I know their driveway by their building, if you look at that building, they got a little car or something sitting on the south side of that building, and it's tight in there, so. But if they only have a few cars, I don't know how many cars can fit in that shed they're working on and all that stuff, so. I know the conditions, that's something that I'm sure Toby will probably be getting some calls on a few things that probably aren't fully in compliance. And that's you guys coming up to, do this stuff, you're gonna have to make sure to try to stay in compliance with all that stuff. So. Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any additional discussion from the county side? Seeing none, can we take a roll call, Jane?
Commissioner Albers,
Aye.
Commissioner Ensted,
Aye.
Commissioner Pashby,
Aye.
Commissioner Poppins.
Aye.
Commissioner Jongling.
Aye. Thank you. City of Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, the conditional use permit has passed on the county side with the 2 findings of fact and 7 conditions. Do we have a motion on the city side?
Mr. Chairman, Lukey, I will make a motion for approval with the 2 findings and then the 7 conditions.
Second, Johnson.
Motion and a second. Further discussion on the city side?
Mr. Chairman, Lukey, I think that this fits into the area. It does sound like there is some stuff that the neighbors will have to work out. I mean, a shared driveway, you're always gonna have stuff you're gonna have to work out. But I think that this does fit the neighborhood.
Thank you, Commissioner Lukey. Any other commissioners this evening on this item? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Lukey,
Yes.
Commissioner Nisus,
Yes.
Commissioner Norman,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yes.
The conditional use permit has passed 5-0 on the city side.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your business.
Thank you very much.
Toby, would you like to discuss the next one, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This next item is a conditional use permit for warehousing in the commercial district. Subject parcel is located just off of Highway 11, just north of our County Highway 106. If you recall, last year, the joint board did change the zone of this property from A1 agricultural to C commercial. All surrounding properties are zoned A1 agricultural. To the east, again, is Highway 11. Subject property does have a single-family dwelling and some outbuildings on it, but I believe that's in the process of being removed from the property. The application before you this evening is an application to construct Phase 1 and Phase 2 of a multi-phased storage warehousing project. The proposal for Phase 1 and 2 would be approximately 88,000 square feet of storage space. There would also be some outside storage on the property as well. This is the concept plan that was submitted with the application. Again, it would be for the construction of Phase 1 and Phase 2, and then a portion of the outdoor storage, which would be RV, boats, campers, that kind of type of storage. The application was reviewed by staff. Staff does feel that this does fit and it is consistent with the plans that were submitted during the change of zone process. So staff does recommend approval of this application with 2 findings and then also with 6 conditions. I'm going to modify though, or ask to modify condition number 5 this evening. Condition number 5 read stormwater management shall be in conformance with the City of Sioux Falls and Lincoln County requirements and approvals. Have had some ongoing discussions with the City of Sioux Falls and their responsibilities for permitting outside of city limits. And so I'm going to recommend that we modify condition number 5 from what is stated on the staff report to, and I'll read it to you, is modify it to a grading and drainage plan submitted for review and acceptance prior to any site grading activities. And so in saying that, the county will take responsibility for the review and approval of that grading and drainage plan submittal. I have talked to the applicant and notified them of this proposed change. But staff, again, would recommend approval of this applications with the findings and with the conditions, and then number 5 condition is modified as I just read. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Toby. Lincoln County, any questions for Toby?
I have no questions.
No.
Thank you very much. City of Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, any questions for Toby? No questions on the city side.
Thank you. I would invite the applicant to come up and explain your proposal in further detail.
Good evening, Commissioners. Eric Willardson Lawn Engineering, 902 South Cleveland, Sioux Falls, here representing the applicants and developers. They are also, all 3 of them are here tonight. It's a proposal, as Toby has indicated, for storage units on the site, and they are in agreement with all the findings and conditions and the change of condition. We understand the City of Sioux Falls is deferred to the county for the drainage, and will certainly adhere to all county drainage requirements for stormwater runoff and detention. With that, I guess I'd answer any questions that you might have. And again, the developers are here as well.
Thank you very much. County, any questions for Eric?
Is this all the units you're gonna put on? You're gonna put more on than this?
This is, Phase 1 and Phase 2 are indoor units. The portion of that you see in Phase 1 that's outdoor storage, they're, depending on market conditions and how Phase 1 goes, yes, the Intent would be then to convert that outdoor storage to phase 3, if you will, in the future. And do away with the outdoor, but right now it's as proposed, but there are plans if things work out to add additional buildings.
So the outdoor storage is kind of along Highway 11 then?
Right, there's one of the conditions is for screening from both Highway 11 and adjacent property
And south side?
on the south side, correct.
Is that a holding pond way down there in the,
Yeah, the
corner?
site kind of drains from northwest to southeast. And so, yeah, the detention pond is what we're depicting there in that.
you kind of
Southeast
have
corner.
one there now. Are you gonna fill some of that
There
in?
kind of is, yeah. That's kind of a natural little area, and that would be the natural place to put a detention pond, so. That's the thought here, yes.
When that overflows, that's gonna go down the ditch there?
Yeah, it would run, then be released down the ditch, and there's a creek just to the
Yeah.
south. And then it crosses over and runs east.
Is that ditch deeper than the field there or not? Or is it gonna run in the field? There's gonna be quite a bit of water coming off of there. That's,
Thus, the detention pond
yeah.
and a controlled release.
Okay, no more questions?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
I know when we originally discussed this, there's a lot of trees there, and we were told they were gonna be staying as a natural barrier and all that. Does that, according to this plan, are those all gone now?
I drove by there on the way down here, and it looks like they've started removing some of them. I'm not sure to what extent.
Okay.
Those that don't interfere with buildings, I would assume can stay. But, yeah, there was a lot that were in there that need to be removed.
Right. I know when it was discussed, one side was going to stay all trees, or two sides all trees, as a natural barrier, for the surrounding area. So, the other question I have is the driveway. Is that going to be extra wide to allow people to turn in and out with the additional traffic on a busy highway?
We have been in contact with DOT. This is obviously State Highway 11. And we will have to apply for a change in use access permit from the rural residential or ag to this commercial use. And they may require a right turn lane or something like that, but certainly the driveway would be wide enough to accommodate. Obviously, traffic in and out of a storage unit is somewhat minimal. But yeah, driveway will be probably, I'm gonna guess 24 to 30 feet.
Thank you. Any other question from the county? Gary?
No, I have none.
All right, thank you. City Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, any questions? No questions on the city side.
All right, thank
Okay.
you, Gary.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'd like to call anybody come up to the podium and speak in favor of the applicant.
I'm Lynn Poppinga, and we own the property around this, the building site. We're okay with the project. We are concerned with the water issue. The ditch does not drain it to the creek. We would have to run a tile sometime from the retention pond to the creek. So that's our only concern with that, that, if it goes in a ditch, it'll go in our field by the time it gets to the creek. It wasn't formed right when they made Highway 11, so. But we're okay with the project, other than where the drainage is gonna be, how it's gonna be handled, so.
Yeah, have you spoken to the developers about that, or?
We just talked here a little bit about it, yep, and, so, yep. So I just, my question is, 5 years down the road, what happens if it's not correct? Do I come back to you guys, or do we work it out against, amongst ourselves, or how's that work?
Right, you'd come back to the county and,
I'm sure we can work it out, but,
Right.
we don't know.
About how far is it to the creek? How far?
It's probably less than a quarter mile. The drain tile would run maybe an eighth of a mile. We go kitty cornered across our field to drain that pond so it doesn't stay full all the time for the next rain that comes along. Sooner or later, it's gonna run over. It won't soak away. On the west side, we have a tile right behind the property that runs around the building to the north and drains in the front lawn. Then goes into a culvert that goes across the creek, goes across the road. That drains that, you can see that dark area, that's all drained with a tile. So.
Are they gonna get into that tile when they do some?
Hopefully
construction?
not, like I say, it drains right into that culvert, which is right by the driveway.
Okay,
And it goes across the road into that next man's field. So depending how they slope the asphalt. So,
all right. Thank you, Lynn. Is there anyone else like to speak in favor of the applicant? Seeing none, invite anybody to step up and talk in their opposition of the applicant. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the floor to public comment, and I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions and that. I'd like to make sure that all the tiling and drainage is all done right for Lynn's sake. Cause I know what them developments like that seem like they always end up putting more water on the farm ground than what a guy anticipates. So.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion from commissioners?
Clarification, is the one condition changed as by Toby's request?
Motion and a second with the conditions and the one changed by Toby. Everyone, Colin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think we need to have a clarification, and if there is an issue with the drainage, I do not believe that would actually come back to us. It'd become a civil matter, Toby, because unless we're putting a stipulation that that water drain into that creek through a drain tile is one of our conditions, it would not be enforceable by our action. Would that be correct?
Correct. We'll work with the applicant to address it. Correct. We'll work with the applicant to address those concerns prior to approval.
And the applicant is agreeable to that?
Yes.
Just for the mic, please.
Yes, the applicant is agreeable.
Thank you. No other questions?
All right. Any other discussion, Gary?
No.
Okay, well, roll call, please.
Commissioner Albers?
Aye.
Commissioner Ensted?
Aye.
Commissioner Pashby?
Aye.
Commissioner Poppins?
Aye.
Commissioner Jongling?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. City of Sioux Falls.
Commissioners, the conditional use permit, subject to 2 findings and 6 conditions. Condition number 5 has been amended from what you have in your packet, has all been approved on the county side. Do I have a motion on the city side?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Johnson.
Second, Lukey.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the city side?
Mr. Chair, I didn't know if Aaron could give us any insight on the water. A lot of water has been coming up, and I didn't know, since that's his expertise, if he has any problems with it at all.
You know, Mr. Chair, I guess looking at it, looks like they're trying to relocate the detention pond further to the east where the water looks like it sits today. It'll be interesting with not much of a ditch section there on how that will drain, if they're proposing to bring a lot of fill into the site and build things up or what have you, but it appears that will all get reviewed and commented on by the county and their staff. Looking at the plan that was provided, it doesn't look like a full-fledged grading plan, more of a site plan showing some proposed drainage patterns. So I trust their engineer will get it right and the county will have a chance to review it.
Thank you, Commissioner Norman. Any further discussion on the city side? Hearing none, we will take a roll call vote. Commissioner Lukey?
Yes.
Commissioner Nisus?
Yes.
Commissioner Norman?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
The conditional use permit has passed on the city side.
Thank you very much. Toby, we would discuss the next one, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this next item is an application to an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Lincoln County and the City of Sioux Falls joint jurisdiction area by changing the zoning. It's approximately 39.56 acres. This would be changing the zoning from A1 agricultural to RR rural residential. The concept that was submitted with the application is for rural residential multi-lot subdivision. Subject property is located in the northeast quadrant of the county. It is just off of what we refer to as the Co-op Road in Lincoln County, and then also 269th Street is just to the south of that. This is, as you can see, is just in the southern part of the joint jurisdictional area. Again, the subject property is zoned A1 agricultural. It is improved with a single-family dwelling and I believe an outbuilding on the property. As you can see that the properties to the south and a portion of it to the east has been previously change of zone to rural residential to facilitate rural residential development. Again, the concept plan that was submitted with the application is approximately a 28-29 lot development that would be accessed off primarily. This portion of it is actually a township road right here, if I'm correct on that, that accesses into here. And as you can see, this area, and I'm gonna be above my pay grade here, so Adam will jump in here a little bit if he wants to, but essentially, this is an area that's identified in Sioux Falls's and Shape Sioux Falls comprehensive plan, which is the comprehensive plan for the joint jurisdictional area for this particular property. Identifies this property as a Tier 3 growth area. And my understanding of a Tier 3 growth area is it does require then the applicant to extend infrastructure to that property. However, the applicant has been working with city staff and they've identified through some sewer analysis studies that this property is not a Tier 3 growth area that would be identified as a rural growth area. So those limitations and expectations are not required of the developer at this time. Another map that I'll show you is here. So this is the future land use map for the joint jurisdictional area for this property and the surrounding area. It does identify this property as future residential. And so based on that, that's our primary guidance for the change of zone applications. So as you can see in the staff analysis, is that staff is recommending deferral of this application until such time as the preliminary plan requirements have been reviewed and accepted by staff. And then in conjunction with that, then we'll bring that back with this application for a change of zone so that they're done simultaneously by both actions. And again, the preliminary plan identifies the development requirements for the property. And so those requirements had not been met at the time that we drafted the staff report. Since then, the applicant and their consultants have submitted that information, but that information has not been reviewed by staff, and no recommendation has been given at this time. However, we did post the property. The applicant did send notification out to surrounding property owners. So I'd encourage you to conduct a public hearing, identify if there's any other issues. But in saying that, staff will then will repost the property for if everything gets approved, anticipating that this would be on next month's agenda. We would repost the property. We'll also re-advertise, and the applicant will notify adjacent property owners of that meeting. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff. Again, per the staff report, staff is generally recommending approval of the change of zone. It's just we're recommending deferral at this time until the preliminary plan has been submitted and reviewed, and a recommendation is given by staff. With that, I'd be happy to answer your questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Toby. Lincoln County Commissioners, any questions for Toby, for staff?
Not at this time.
No.
I have no questions.
Thank you very much. City of Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, any questions for Toby? None on the city side.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to invite anybody up to speak in favor of the applicant.
Do you want the applicant himself first?
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Yes, the applicant, please. Yep, if you could detail some of your proposal.
I'm John Agee, and I want to thank you guys for your time so that we can present and represent Brownview Acres ourselves. CDI is our engineering firm, and the rezoning and the layout. CDI is civil design, like you see on your papers. Been in business for 21 years. They're based out of Brookings. We have worked with them before. They do it all just like every other civil engineering group, roads, streets, drainage, etc. They also have their fingerprints on 26 ethanol plants in 12 different states. We've been doing our work. We're in contact with the floodplain administrator of Lincoln County, the DNR, wetlands, and all services that will be necessary in the future to make this operative to Brownview Acres. What I really want to emphasize is we are civic-minded people, civic-minded family. 5 out of 6 of us are here today. If I say Jay, that's my dad. If I say Dorothy, that's my mom. Everybody's on board with this idea. What we really need to talk about is religion, entertainment, service, safety, civic projects, and education. In brief, Mom was a couple of months away from being a charter member of Grace Lutheran Church, 61 years. Entertainment, Dad and his brother were charter members of the Sioux Falls Stock Car Racing Association, better known as Houston Speedway. Service, 3 generations of auto service. Safety, 3 generations of volunteer firemen, better known as Sioux Falls and Split Rock. Jay was a charter member, just like Tim's dad. Tom Burns Sr. was a charter member also. Civic projects, like I said, 26th Street never went through to Cliff Avenue until Jay, Dorothy, and the city of Sioux Falls got together. They sold a hill of clay to 26th Street so they could go on through. A number of years ago in 1960, if anybody remembers, that it did not go through at that time. Education, Jay and Todd were both on the board of directors for the Southeast Area Technical Service School. And this was, in brief, Jay's idea to develop this quite a few years ago, but he has passed and Mom is on board with this situation. All of our initial requirements have been made and completed as far as what we had to do, like I said, DNR, wetlands, et cetera, in the fall of 2020. Being there's this little bit of a delay here in us and CDI getting information out as quick as we could. Mark Cotter, he's been great to work with, but he finally gave us a green light and a written approval on the 19th of February. We will look just like the surrounding areas as shown on the map. We are surrounded by 3 rural residential sites, and it was good of Mark to write that out where it says we're outside Tier 3 and we will support you and your project. This is my brother Al.
Thank you. I'm Alan Eggy, and address 44021 303rd Street, Yankton. But grew up in this neighborhood. I won't reiterate per your request any of what you heard, but I do too want to thank the commissions for taking on this request for rezoning. And thank you to the engineering staffs and the planning staffs for the recommendation to approve this request. As noted in item 7 of the staff analysis, this parcel was recently deemed outside the Tier 3 area and would be a rural growth area. With that determination just being made in later February, the Development Engineering Group has, in the last few weeks, finalized and submitted the preliminary plan. I want to assure everyone that the Eggy family intends to follow the applicable city and county codes and ordinances for this development, and we want to make sure it's done right, and will be a complement to the neighborhood. To that end, and based on the Sioux Falls Code of Ordinances from Chapter 157 for subdivisions, Article 157.051 says that approval can be made with conditions, and the request is that you would approve the rezoning application with the conditions expressed that the final review be done with the city staff, and that we have all that in place in the near future. As you know, schedules are hard to get for materials, equipment, contractors, so we'd like to have that in place as soon as possible so that we can get some of that stuff lined up, get on their schedules as quick as possible this year. So again, if you would consider that condition of approving the rezoning and have that complete and agreed with final review, and we have all of these certificates of approval in hand that are necessary. So again, thank you for your time and thank you for the approval.
Thank you. All right. At this time, I'd like to call anyone up that speak in favor of the applicant, please. Seeing none, I will welcome anyone to speak in opposition of the applicant. All right, seeing none, I will close the floor to public comment, and I'll ask a motion of the commission.
Mr. Chairman, by the request of our planning and zoning staff, I would move to table this and re-advertise this for next month's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Poppins. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion and a second to table this till the next meeting. Discussion by the Lincoln County.
Say, Toby, do you have all the stuff in hand and you just have not went through it all? And how long will it take you to go through, your staff to go through this?
So this is a preliminary subdivision plan that meets the requirements of the Sioux Falls subdivision ordinance, and they've submitted it directly to the city of Sioux Falls staff. And so I've been in contact with them, but they're preliminarily reviewing it not just planning staff, but their engineering staff. And so I believe the last email I saw today is that the deficiencies, there was a resubmittal for the deficiencies. My anticipation is, again, I think we can plan for next month to schedule this for an agenda item.
Okay, so they actually have to approve it, and then you get it, and then you guys have to go through it and all that stuff.
It's not as smooth as that, but
Yeah, I know, but it's gonna take several weeks anyway. I mean,
yeah, so I guess what I'll say is that I'll take back what I said, is that should be tabled, and then when that approvals have been done, and if we can meet the publication requirements and meet the notification requirements, then we'll proceed with it on the next agenda. So I think that I'll clarify that for you in the city, that'll probably be the action that we'll have to take on it.
okay, so, yeah, okay, so you guys have a lot of stuff to do yet then.
There's some approvals that need to be done.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're sitting at then, okay? That's all I have.
Any additional discussion?
No.
All right, Aggies, I feel the same way. I mean, I 100% understand about materials being short right now and getting stuff lined up. I honestly feel we do need to make sure everything's dotted and crossed before we move forward. With that, we'll take a roll call.
Commissioner Albers?
Aye.
Commissioner Ensted?
Aye.
Commissioner Pashby?
Aye.
Commissioner Poppins?
Aye.
Commissioner Jungling?
Aye. Thank you. City of Sioux Falls?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Eric Nyberg here. Before I ask for a motion on the city side, can I ask for a clarification? Was what passed on the county side a motion to defer to next month, or is it a motion to table the item indefinitely?
No, if I may.
Yes,
Oh.
thank you.
It was just, as it was my motion, it was to table it until next month. That way it puts us under the expectation, or they should have the expectation, we'll do everything we possibly can to get it done. If the action at that time is to again table it, that would be the appropriate matter, if it not. But this way they have a reasonable amount of time expectation that we're going to move forward as quickly as possible.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification. City Commissioners, the motion has passed to defer this item to next month's agenda. Do I have a motion on the city side?
Luke, go ahead. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion from the City Commissioners? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Lukey?
Yes.
Commissioner Nisus?
Yes.
Commissioner Norman?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
The motion to defer has passed 5-0.
Thank you very much, guys, and we'll look forward to seeing you as soon as we get everything planned and gone through.
Mr. Chair, we had a question on there.
I do believe we've made motions and passed. Thank you very much. With that, that's our conclusion, and a motion to adjourn.
So move, Elbers.
Second, Poppins.
All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Albers?
Aye.
Commissioner Ensted?
Aye.
Commissioner Pashby?
Aye.
Commissioner Poppins?
Aye.
Commissioner Jungling?
Aye. City of Sioux Falls?
Commissioners, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Lukey, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Sure, will second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do the roll call vote. Commissioner Lukey?
Yes.
Commissioner Nisus?
Yes.
Commissioner Norman?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson? Yes.
Excuse me,
Commissioner
everyone.
Fisher. You're adjourning the speech.
Excuse me?
Toby, has that been recorded? We're good.